Today we're tackling a new project, and it's this bedroom, which has an okay sized closet for one person. But the problem is, it's going to become kind of an in-law suite for parents, and it just doesn't have enough storage. Fortunately, adjacent to it is kind of this unused landing, sitting area, storage area, whatever you want to call it. So the goal for this project is to take this area and convert it into a walk-in closet to add more functionality and storage to this bedroom. And to do that, we're going to wall off this area here and punch a hole in the wall into the bedroom to create a new doorway, and this area will become a 5x6 walk-in closet. And I'm going to show you step by step exactly how I'm going to go about doing this. And it starts by protecting everything you don't want to ruin, which includes, in this case, this carpet. So I'm using some carpet cling film to protect the carpet so that I'm not tracking and mashing all sorts of dirt, debris, and all sorts of stuff into the carpet that's going to have to be cleaned later. So let's talk some of the challenges with this project. Now, number one, the doorway is going to go somewhere here, and I can see that there's an electrical outlet that's going to have to be moved in order to do that. We've also got some HVAC ducting in this area on both sides, so that's going to determine where our wall goes. So for the sake of not having to move any of that stuff, we're going to put the wall back in line with this other corner, so that way everything is nice and flush, and it will look like just one solid wall. Knowing exactly where the wall is going to go then allows us to begin the process of demo, which involves removing the corner bead off this drywall, cutting back the baseboards, and also cutting out the carpet, because you don't want to build a wall over top of carpet, because that's a real hack job. Now, I'm taking my time to be accurate with this and clean with my cuts, because they don't want to have to replace the floor in this area. They want to be able to reuse the carpet, and if I cut it cleanly at the correct width, I can reuse this piece later on. Next, I'm cutting back the drywall to expose the framing underneath, so that way when I build this new section of wall, I can attach it to the subfloor and to the framing in the walls as well. I'm also checking the ceiling for joist locations. I'm not going to cut the ceiling open because it's blown in insulation up here, and if I cut it open with a big hole, it's just going to drop a ton of insulation down. And once that's done, then I can attach the bottom plate to the subfloor and get that nailed into place. On this other wall, where the new wall is going to falls between two stud bays. So I'm going to have to frame it out so that we can have a solid anchor point for this end of the wall. So I might as well just remove this drywall now, which is going to come out later anyway. Which also gives me the first look at what we're dealing with electrically. We've got our line in coming in from the ceiling. It's coming down, going to this first outlet, which we're going to move over here. Feeds our second outlet, and then that feeds the light switch and goes up. So this is all on one circuit. So what we need to do is move our line in, move this over here. We're going to run a new wire up and over. We're going to build a new rough opening. This will be where our door is, basically centered on this, pretty close to it. And then, we'll close this all in. We'll run our wire one down this way. We'll run it up and over, reconnect all this, and then we'll be buttoned up electrically. And we can punch a hole through this wall and then get everything kind of dialed in. So pretty straightforward. Looks good. So yeah, what that guy said, that's the plan. That's what you're watching me do right here. So I flipped the breaker off, started pulling things apart, pulled the line in wire and capped it, and then got everything out of the way so that I could continue my framing. Now I don't have a lot of room to work, so I can't build the wall and then stand it up in one piece. So I have to build it stick by stick, which isn't really a problem, but it's just a lot of back and forth when you're making your cuts outside and not right where you're working. So it's a lot of up and down and back and forth. It just takes some time, slows you down. It also doesn't help when your $400 nail gun is a piece of crap. I have this pass load gas-powered framing nailer, and I had one previously, and it was one of my favorite tools ever. But for some reason, this one, I must have got a lemon, and it just doesn't fire right, and it's really frustrating. It sinks a nail like 30% of the time, and then the rest of the time it barely gets it into the wood. I'm not bashing pass load. I think I just got a bad one, and I probably should have returned it a long time ago. Anyway, once I had the framing all done, then I could cut out the piece of drywall inside our new rough opening, so we have our new door location. And now that I have a new opening to get into this area, now I can close up the other side with some new drywall. I would have liked to have done this in one piece, but given where this location is and trying to get a full sheet of drywall around this corner and all that stuff, just wasn't practical. So I cut a piece in half, which just means I'm going to have to mud it, which is fine because I'm going to have to do that anyway. And that also meant that I could close up the inside as well, at least on this one wall, until I finish up the electrical on the other one. And that was it for day one on this project. So moving on to day two is my absolute least favorite thing in the world, mudding drywall. It's hard to tell in the video, but the existing drywall has kind of an orange peel half knockdown texture to it, and they're not crazy about it. They want to get rid of it. So that means I have to skim coat that and blend it with the new drywall. So most of day 2 was spent doing drywall. So I'm just going to speed through this, mostly because I hate it, but also because I'm not that great at it, and the drywallers out there are probably going to give me a bunch of grief about it. So you'll just have to trust me when I say that I did it and it came out fine. The other part of day 2 was moving this light to the center of the room because it kind of is in a weird location, and also isolating it from the hallway circuit. Now the hallway is on a series of 4-way switches. There's 3 upstairs and 1 downstairs. So basically what I had to do was go into the attic, pull that apart, move this light to the center, run some new wiring from this switch that was existing on the wall that used to be part of a 4-way, convert it to a single pole, and remove it from the old circuit. Which, if that's confusing to you, don't worry about it. I do have some other electrical videos you can watch, specifically that can be helpful if you're dealing with 3-way and 4-way switches. And once all that was done, then I could finally finish up closing the drywall, get everything mudded, and that was the end of day 2. Day 3 started out with, surprise, more drywall. I had to put some corner bead on and do the bedroom side as well as some touch up on the inside. The reason why I'm finishing up this door jamb is because we're going to be using a barn door instead of a typical door in this location, so the drywall needs to be finished. I also sanded down the first coat inside and did a second coat to smooth everything out, spilled my coffee directly into my drywall bucket, and then used some spray texture to blend in the outside with the existing texture in the bedroom and let everything set up overnight. Day 4 started with priming and painting the bedroom side of the closet and blending it in with the existing room. Also priming the interior of the closet. And then after the paint set up on the outside, then I could start installing the sliding barn door hardware. Now, this is not a typical sliding barn door, mostly because we don't have the room for that. So what we opted for is a 32-inch bifold barn door, which is new to me. I've never installed one of these before, but is relatively straightforward, and I think it works out great in the space. And finally, I put the carpet pad and the carpet back into the closet, and I failed to mention that I removed that before I started doing drywall, mostly just to try and keep it clean, but we've gone too far, and I can't go back and insert that in now. And remember that piece of carpet that I took my time to cut out at the beginning? Well, this is why. Because I used it to seam into this doorway. And it's not perfect, but it's pretty dang good. And it keeps them from having to buy new flooring or new carpet to put into this area. And lastly, I got the baseboards reinstalled. So here's what the room looked like before, and here's what it looks like now. Complete with the 5x6 walk-in closet and the bifold barn door. Unfortunately, I don't have a full closet build out for you because I didn't do it, but the homeowners will figure out what exactly it is they're going to do here, which means that my work is done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and more importantly, I hope you learned something. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.